So Patty, how does it feel seeing Ed today?
I still want to kill him.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I opened my arms, my heart, my home, my family to this person. But his ego, his demons kept getting in the way. He treats her like crap, like she's a doormat, like she's his punching bag.
Patty, the first day I met you, what did you tell me about your daughter?
I told you she was high maintenance. If you piss her off, you're gonna get the bitch. You pissed her off, you got the bitch.
Emotional problems.
I did not say she had emotional problems.
You did tell me she had a really bad temper.
No.
The latest scoop on the happily ever after tell-all has just been released, and it includes an unexpected twist. The entire cast is staying together in a mansion when they're not filming the tell-all. The first part of the tell-all begins with the couples arriving at this beautiful mansion. First to arrive are Patrick and Tace, followed by Gino and Jasmine, with Jasmine proudly displaying her beauty pageant sash. The mansion itself is stunning. I actually appreciate the idea of seeing the cast members interact outside of the tell-all filming, without Sean interrupting just as things start to get interesting. We're in for a lengthy tell-all, so I'm open to giving this new format a chance. It might add some excitement. Within just a few minutes of watching, it's clear that there will be many awkward moments, especially as more cast members arrive. Take Liz, for example. It was so refreshing to see her show up alone without Ed.
I got rid of like 230 pounds.
Yeah. Let me tell you, Liz is glowing. Ed must be doing wonders for her. But then, guess who arrives? The very person who dumped her, Humpty Dumpty himself. It's been 6 months since they last saw each other. I was hoping Liz would just walk past him, act like he's invisible, like he's just some trash on the street. But no, they even hug. Liz wipes away his tears too. After all these months and considering how he canceled their wedding without a word, you'd think she wouldn't even glance his way. So when I saw her being all nice to him, I made the same face as Jasmine, a look of pure disgust.
Like hug him.
Okay, all right, good. I don't either.
Yeah.
You should give me a hug.
Just like every tell-all episode, and trust me, there have been plenty, I always hope someone will finally call Ed out. I want Liz to feel supported and defended, while Ed is left feeling foolish. But usually, I'm disappointed. There are always a few jabs here and there, like when Andre calls him short, or when old Jenny starts yelling at him, but it's never enough. I always crave more. Naturally, I was pretty bummed out when Liz was nice to Ed on the first night.
You look great. I do miss you.
You look great. I do miss you. He doesn't deserve it at all. It felt like we were back to square one, and I started getting the vibe they might actually get back together. She even slips up and calls Ed baby by accident. It seems that even after all this time, Liz hasn't developed a strong dislike for Ed. I actually expected Ed to be more aloof, especially considering how cold he was when he called off the wedding and when Liz moved out. Ed seemed eager to move on quickly. In fact, a woman reached out to me claiming Ed had invited her to visit him, and she even had proof. She mentioned that Ed also tried to get her to come to the tell-all, but she declined. It seems like Ed is feeling emotional now because he's attempting to reconcile with Liz. As it appears, no one else is interested in him, not even when he offered to fly women out to be on TV. So Liz has become his fallback option. After everyone except Michael and Angela arrived at the mansion, we transitioned to the next day, marking the official start of the tell-all.
Well, Liz has kept her new relationship under wraps so far, but we invited him here today.
Yeah.
Please welcome Jason.
Yes.
Hi, Jason.
Jay. Hi, Jay.
Am I crying up here? One more time.
Meanwhile, everyone is finishing up their preparations and Michael shows up, though Angela is initially nowhere to be seen. The cast keeps commenting on how they want to hear Michael's side of the story since he can finally speak for himself. But of course, the moment doesn't last long because the Crypt Keeper, as some call her, makes her entrance. I'm baffled by her presence on the screen and refuse to show her leathery face. Angela starts bossing Michael around, telling him he can't join the other cast members. Thankfully, they interrupt her ranting to kick off the tell-all, announcing that Nicole and Mud won't be attending. They don't explain why, but those who've been following the show might have noticed their absence towards the season's end. Apparently, a few months back, Mud was arrested and charged with misdemeanor domestic violence after an incident with Nicole. There haven't been many details released about what happened. It's unclear whether the show decided not to invite them or if they chose not to attend. It's hard to believe they weren't invited, especially with Angela present. The tell-all begins with introductions, and Ed and Liz's segment is first. They delve into their breakup this season, and unsurprisingly, Ed starts spewing nonsense.
Back at church, I help usher on every Sunday. Having a relationship for me right now is probably the furthest thing from my mind.
Back at church, I help usher every Sunday. Having a relationship for me right now is probably the furthest thing from my mind. I want to add some context to what Ed is saying. He's now portraying himself as a devout churchgoer, often mentioning in interviews his desire for a good Christian woman. Ed claims that during the 6-month period he was single after breaking up with Liz, he focused on self-improvement and wasn't interested in a relationship. However, a woman who reached out to me revealed some texts that suggest otherwise. She shared messages that clearly show Ed hasn't changed. He's still the same slimy, unpleasant person we've known all along. In fact, he even offered to fly her out for the tell-all episode during the time he was supposedly working on himself. This whole narrative of being a reformed, church-going man is just a facade. He's not upset because he's making progress. He's upset because he couldn't find someone to accompany him to the tell-all. Ed's attempts at dating are just flopping. It's not that he's not trying, it's that nobody wants to be with him. They dive into the infamous taco pasta wedding cancellation, showing the cast how Ed canceled the wedding without even telling Liz. Now, the entire cast knows, everyone knows, and Ed can't play the victim card to weasel out of this mess. But oh, does he try? He comes unhinged, especially when Liz shares how she lost it in front of his family for the first time, with his sister witnessing the whole thing. It was mortifying for him. There's no excuse for canceling a wedding without informing Liz. Yet all he does is blame her, projecting everything onto her. I can't change who you are. You did this, you have a temper, and so on. Just when the conversation starts heating up, Sean cuts in. This is what I'm talking about. Why interrupt when it's getting juicy? Sean jumps in to ask about the scene where Ed went to the bar. If you recall, he was supposed to meet Liz in person after canceling the wedding, but she didn't show up, saying it wasn't a healthy environment for that discussion. I was a bit curious about what she meant by that, but seriously, Sean, let the cast rip into Ed without breaking the momentum. Not even the allure of a free flight and a chance to be on TV could save Ed. The footage they show just keeps making him look worse, especially the scenes of him arguing with Liz's mom. Then they even bring out Liz's mom, which felt unnecessary at this point. She really doesn't need to say anything to Ed anymore. Although I did appreciate one thing she mentioned, I'm absolutely loving the fact that Liz is finally standing up for herself. She's got support, and no one except Ed is blaming her for any of this. She's not just sitting there taking his nonsense and crying, she's pushing back and holding her ground. I was genuinely thrilled for her when they introduced her new boyfriend. Sure, we don't know much about him or their relationship, but one thing's for sure, he's not Ed, and that alone is a big plus in his favor. So it turns out Liz is now dating someone new after Ed. This wasn't a huge surprise for the audience, given the context. But hey, at least Liz got to flaunt her new boyfriend in front of Ed, and I'm genuinely glad she's moved on. Hopefully, she stays miles away from Ed for good. We wrapped up the segment with Liz and her new guy announcing they're planning to move in together, which left Ed looking a bit sheepish. Kudos to Liz for that. Ed tried to bring a date to the tell-all and likely invited several women, but Liz managed to steal the spotlight with her new beau. I'm pretty satisfied with how things turned out for Liz this time around, and I'm rooting for Ed to keep facing the heat throughout the tell-all. Next up, Jasmine and Gino. Honestly, I'm fed up with their repetitive drama and excessive details about their intimate life.
He is not treating me as a wife. This is like, I'm give you this, but you have to do this. Like, he's trying to condition me. And this manipulative psychology he's trying to use on me, that is used to train dogs. I'm not a freaking dog. I'm his wife, and he's not God. He's bold man.
Jasmine has reached her breaking point with Gino. Seriously, after countless years of expressing her frustrations with her American husband, she's finally prepared to end their marriage, a union that took everyone by surprise.
Medium, I'm going back to Panama. I don't want to see you ever again.
Okay, go.
So why is she making this decision now? Well, nothing strikes a chord quite like family. Let's dive into it. Jasmine and Gino have been beloved figures in the 90-Day universe since they first appeared in Season 5 of Before the 90 Days. To say their relationship has been tumultuous would be putting it lightly. Their now iconic antics have solidified them as the 90-Day couple that fans can't get enough of. TLC's casting director couldn't resist bringing back this controversial duo for the latest season of 90-Day Happily Ever After to recap their journey. Gino felt incredibly fortunate when Jasmine, a stunning model from Panama, actually expressed interest in him. In fact, she excitedly told the Michigan native, who had just hit his 50s, that she was eager to build a life together. However, before they could envision a future with kids and a white picket fence, Gino traveled to Panama, armed with an electric toothbrush as a gift, hoping to see if their chemistry translated in person. Let's just say things didn't quite go as planned. That initial spark quickly escalated into a full-blown fireball.
What did you say?
The man who has a fear of taking off his hat soon discovers that Jasmine's temper is truly a force to be reckoned with. The Panamanian can go from calm to volcanic in the blink of an eye, and when she blows up, it's definitely time to take cover. Jasmine is a woman who knows exactly what she wants and refuses to settle for anything less. While Gino likely found this determination charming at first, it quickly became exhausting with all the constant fighting. This couple has experienced more twists and turns than a wild roller coaster ride. After countless arguments, some inappropriate messages sent to an ex, a few cosmetic enhancements, endless cheating allegations, a $270 engagement ring, and the unforgettable moment when a toothbrush was hurled out the front door, Jasmine took the plunge and proposed. Surprisingly, they actually made it to the altar, landing a spot among the top 10 jaw-dropping moments in the 90-Day franchise. Now, fast forward to the latest season of Happily Ever After, where we find them, guess what? Still squabbling about finances. This time, however, fans felt Jasmine had a solid point. Gino had committed to bringing her children to the US, but all he needed was a little more time. They had been married for a short while when filming resumed, yet the kids were still back in Panama. Why? Gino had quit his job at the season's start and was relying on savings and retirement funds to support both himself and Jasmine. Unfortunately, he just couldn't muster the $55,000 needed to bring the kids over.
And I'm telling you, I don't have $5,000 to pay for a lawyer. I'm going to do it myself.
Jasmine was struggling to adapt to her new life alongside Gino, and fans speculated that it might be because she simply doesn't like him. Others pointed out that uprooting your life to a different country, leaving behind friends and family, is no small feat. Then there's the fact that her incredibly close friend, who also happens to be her ex, is part of the picture. At this point, Gino and Jasmine might as well rebrand themselves since Dane seems to have secured his spot in their dynamic. Jasmine has essentially confessed to having cheated on Gino with Dane at least once, which she's backed up by telling Gino that he's the best partner she's ever had. Talk about mixed signals. If you thought the Dane saga wrapped up after one dramatic fight and an apology letter, think again. Dane has been making cameo appearances on the show ever since, and everyone assumed Jasmine was just bringing him up to get under Gino's skin. However, it turns out that's only part of the story. Apparently, Dane is still financing Jasmine's extravagant lifestyle, and she doesn't seem to have any qualms about it. In the latest twist, Gino was taken aback when Jasmine proudly announced that she had treated herself to a brand new set of butt implants. Surprisingly, Gino didn't seem to mind the results at all. One of the major gripes he had was that Dane was playing the role of the gallant knight, stepping in to cover the costs for the new enhancements. Gino chipped in too, but not out of a desire to share expenses with his then fiancé. In reality, he had sent Jasmine funds to purchase her wedding dress instead. Why does she think this is acceptable? Jasmine's rationale was simple. Why not? After all, Gino was the one who opted to leave his job right after tying the knot. If he can't foot the bill for her surgeries but Dane can, what's the issue? And if you believe the wildest aspect of their relationship was the infidelity, the deception, or the extravagant spending on cosmetic enhancements, think again. The real shocker came in June 2023 when they actually exchanged vows at the altar. Fast forward nearly a year, and the couple isn't exactly reveling in wedded bliss. their highs are few and far between. But who's keeping score? Well, apparently Jasmine is, or at least she was. For the first time, Jasmine is confronting reality and grappling with some doubts. What triggered this epiphany? The Panamanian model recently received their wedding photos, and as she sifted through them, she realized she was far from content in her marriage. Let's hope Gino skips this episode.
The only thing that makes him that excited is American football, and it's very hard to compete against that.
The only thing that makes him that excited is American football. And it's very hard to compete against that. Jasmine opened up about her marriage in detail. Was it brutal? Absolutely, yet some fans caught a glimpse of a different side to the typically fiery Jasmine. This may have been her most genuine moment on camera. When the photographer handed her the wedding snapshots, she instantly recognized how different she appeared that day compared to now. For starters, her hair was in much better shape, and before you label her as superficial, Jasmine has candidly discussed her ongoing battle with alopecia.
And you were like, no, don't spend money on that.
Right.
Guess what?
And you were like, no, don't spend money on that. Right, guess what? She pointed out that on her wedding day, her hair was full and vibrant. But fast forward to today, and she's losing clumps of it daily. We're not professionals, but that sounds like an immense amount of stress to bear. Jasmine became emotional as the photographer encouraged her to pick out her favorite photos. The truth was, while she liked all of them, she despised how they made her feel. She recalled the immense hope she had for a fresh start on her wedding day, yet now she feels like nothing is changing in her relationship with Gino. Yes, she confessed to missing her kids and family back home, maybe even Dane, but honestly, this was the first time we saw Jasmine express genuine feelings on screen. On her wedding day, she had been filled with hope for a fresh start, yet now she felt stagnant in her relationship with Gino. Yes, she admitted to missing her kids and family back home, maybe even Dane, but in all honesty, this was the first time she showed real vulnerability. Often cast as the villain in the show, known for her shouting matches with Gino and her secretive conversations with Dane, this time was different. She confessed to the photographer, who looked genuinely worried for her, that she might have rushed into marrying Gino. And then came the bombshell. She said it was over. Yes, she used that word. She was ready to pack her bags, sign the divorce papers, and end her marriage for good. But it's not exactly a walk in the park. Everyone was well aware that Gino was stepping into a difficult situation when he agreed to spend his life with Jasmine. His friends and family all rallied together, warning him that she was looking for a vastly different lifestyle in the States, one that Gino simply couldn't provide. Or he could have, if he hadn't made the baffling decision to quit his job right after getting married. Honestly, no one seems to understand why Gino thought retirement was the best choice at that moment. Jasmine, for her part, acknowledged that marriage is a complicated journey, and ending things with someone you once cared for isn't a stroll in the park either. The main force driving her to leave Gino and return home is her deep yearning to be with her two boys. Now, let's not forget Gino's perspective. When Jasmine suggested hiring an immigration lawyer for her sons to start the process, Gino looked at her as if she were speaking a foreign language. He claimed this was the first time she'd mentioned it. Fans were skeptical about that one. But Gino is ready to review every moment from the entire 90-day saga to prove he never committed to bringing her kids along.
First of all, I don't have $5,000 to pay for a lawyer.
Wait, you don't? You don't have that money?
Yeah, I've already spent enough on the wedding itself.
It would have been more believable if he'd admitted he didn't have the money, which he doesn't.
It would be more convincing if he simply admitted he doesn't have the funds, which he definitely doesn't. Jasmine can't apply for a work permit just yet, and truthfully, she isn't eager to jump into work either. When Jasmine shared her concerns with Gino, he brushed it off, thinking she was just being her usual dramatic self. But it seems like the reality of her feelings and her threats to return to Panama are finally hitting home for him. Jasmine took things a step further by putting their plans for starting a family on ice and telling Gino he wasn't exactly cut out for fatherhood. Ouch. Now Gino finds himself scrambling to make amends and persuade Jasmine to stay in the US. Jasmine had hoped Gino would create the kind of life she always dreamed of. It's hard to fault her for that since he said he would. So is this a genuine crisis in their relationship or just another one of their usual squabbles? What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you think Jasmine has a flair for the dramatic, just wait until you hear what Angela has to say about Michael in the next video. You won't want to miss it.